All right, so in the story, it's when you can't see anything clearly. So as we were saying before, most of us would definitely probably be not in the story if you're in this group, like you've kind of moved into stage 2. But yeah, just sort of outlining this so you get an idea of what it's about. Right? I'm going to say most of the time when you're in the story, you're not conscious that there is even anything outside of the story as well. So I think when you do start to go on the awakening journey, you might slip back into the story, but it's momentary. Whereas stage 1, I think in the way we're defining it, it's like someone that's just kind of doesn't really have any concept that there is something else out there. It's just their day-to-day life. It is what it is. You suck it up. You just got to, get on with life. You get dealt hard blows sometimes, that type of thing. So that's sort of what stage 1 is, as we probably all would be aware of. So it looks like this. You're in the box, but you don't know you're in a box. So stage 2 now is the wake-up call. So we've probably all gone through this where we've had this sort of sense that there is something else. We're kind of going, there has to be more to life than this. What am I here for? What's it all about? Is there something else outside of me? All those type of questions that we've probably had at different points in time. Sometimes we might get to them when we've had some kind of crisis of faith or a crisis of health or anything like that sometimes, and we kind of go, God, there has to be something else. Can't be this, can't be my whole life. So it confirms the deep knowing that there's something more to the story. And it starts the 3D awakening journey, where we start to try out different things because we think, okay, there's something else out there. And then often that's when we have a teacher that will come across our path that we resonate with, and we kind of go down that line and we learn from that person. And so it could be a modality like it could be energy healing, it could be a course that you do, some development book that you read. It doesn't really matter what it is. It's just there's usually something that we kind of really resonate with, and it comes across our path, and we start to go down that journey of looking a lot deeper into ourselves.
Yes. Now we have coined it 3D awakening journey, and we'll explain why we've actually done that towards the end of today's session. You'll start to understand why we're talking about that particular journey. And we'll talk more about it tomorrow as well. So it is actually an important term that we'll dive into.
Yep. So the stage 2, we're just doing the sort of overview now, and we're going to dive deeper into these bits now. So stage 2 kind of looks like we start to question. We question life a bit, and we sort of come up with some ideas like, oh, I might try this, I might do that. Oh, oops, sorry. And then as Nat was just saying, it's the 3D awakening journey. So you start to kind of realize there is something else outside the box. Like I realize there's a box, I can step outside the box. And that's where my freedom lies, outside that box. So the stage 3 is what we're calling sort of the true waking up. So stage 2 we're saying is like the 3D awakening. And this is the true with the, truth with the capital T, if you like, waking up. And this is probably the part that we're going to dive deep into this tomorrow, and this is the part that you probably might not have ever heard before. It's quite different. It might be a bit challenging as well. We definitely found it a little bit challenging when we first were learning this, but it just resonated on such a deep level that we wanted to go on the journey, and we're hoping that you guys might feel that pull as well, which is the whole thing about the red pill, the blue pill, because it is literally, that's what it is, going down the red pill. So just giving a bit of a teaser for what is coming up tomorrow. As we all know, like for a building to stand tall, it has to be built on a really strong foundation. So if a building is not built on it's got a cracked or a weak foundation, then the whole building can come down. So that analogy is like really good for the awakening process, if you like, because you have to kind of basically all of our lives are being built on a very a foundation of lies and illusions.
Sorry to tell you that.
Trying to rebuild the truth, we actually have to kind of take the foundation out of everything that we've thought was true, and rebuild on a really strong foundation, rebuild on the foundation of the truth. So hence I've got this little video of like a building being demolished, and this is kind of what the process can look like when you go on this truth journey, which when we saw that 𝐼𝐸𝐻 clip just before, that was that whole, he was being questioned by the lady that he's gone to see about, do you really want to go on the truth, like it can dismantle life as you know it? Are you sure you're ready for this? That type of a thing, because it can feel like that sometimes, that life as you know it. Yep. All right.
Don't forget, you're taking the red pill though.
Yep.
Great job, team. And that's what it feels like.
Very true.
Great. It takes a team to do it. I think the other part about this analogy too of the building coming down is it takes a long time to put a building up, months and months. And if we look at the time frame of months turned into decades to actually build up our world, what we believe to be true in our world and our reality. So our beliefs and our programs and our viewpoints on things and our experiences and all those different things takes decades to actually build, and they get stronger and stronger, those stories.
Yeah.
Then we come along with the truth, with a capital T, and we can basically demolish a lot of the lies and illusions that those stories have been based on. And it doesn't take much to do that. So when you see that a building is actually being collapsed like that, they're putting charges underneath the foundations in strategic points. And so that's exactly what we're doing in this program as well. We're going to be putting charges in strategic points under your reality that basically, once they're hit, is going to start collapsing very big sections of your reality. So you start to question things that you once thought was real to now go, you know what? I actually don't believe them anymore. And so when we do that, we do start to let the light in of the truth. So it's interesting how fast the structure that we've built over decades can come down really quickly. And that's why this workshop does become really potent when because some of the drops that we're going to put in your pond over the coming hours and tomorrow's hours are going to be very strategically placed. So just sit back and absorb it.
They'll ripple out over time as well. And all of the time tomorrow more so we'll be diving into a lot of I'm going to call them myths, like things that we've bought into as a collective consciousness, that it just takes a little bit of kind of digging under the surface to see that they actually don't really stand up as true. But we've just taken them at surface value a lot of the time, that this is how reality is, or this is how society works, or things like the money game, that type of thing. And then it just takes a little bit of exploration and digging under the surface to kind of go, wow, that was built on a very big illusion and lie. And once you start to see that, it's really hard to unsee that. So this next clip we've got coming up is showing a magic trick. So it's really cool to watch something like this, because you watch a magic trick as it's seen by the audience, and you see the miraculous sort of outcome of the magic trick. And then the next
magic.
Yeah. So the next part of the clip is going to actually show you how that magic trick was actually done. So it shows you behind the scenes, the smoke and mirrors that they use to kind of make these illusions look really real. And then once you've seen behind the scenes of a magic trick, you can't ever watch that magic trick again and be fooled by it, because you know exactly what's happening. So that's a really cool analogy for what happens on this journey. You can't be fooled again by the illusion because you've seen it.
For this next illusion, the magician has assembled a group of volunteers to witness the magic. This one will be performed in a completely empty parking lot in broad daylight to eliminate any possibility of trapdoors, secret panels, mirrors, or other stage trickery. He arranges the witnesses in a circle around two large sheets. Like the Pied Piper, they follow him and do exactly what he says, taking their positions in a circle, completely surrounding the sheets. As we walk with him, we can see that the area around the circle of witnesses is completely clear and free from boxes, trucks, or other foreign objects. Except for the witnesses, the assistants, and the camera crew, no one is allowed in this secured lot. Now that the magician is pleased with the placement of his spectators and satisfied that we have seen 360 degrees, he's ready to make some magic. He gives some instructions to his assistants, commanding them to raise the larger of the two sheets. We can see that aside from some long poles that are sewn inside to hold it upright, the sheet does not appear to be gimmicked in any way. We continue our walk with the magician, seeing exactly what the witnesses see. Nothing unusual here, other than a man in a red shirt and a scary black mask. We've now walked to the other side of the sheet. There's nothing extraordinary to report here. The magician commands his assistants to bring in the sides of the sheet, forming a large, three-sided box. Now to close it up, he commands the smaller sheet to be raised to form the front of the box. Not much of a trick, but there it is, a big fabric box in the middle of a parking lot. Maybe he's not done. He tells his assistants to hang on firmly to the large sheets as they battle the wind. This is the high cost of doing a trick outside. One final command for the TV audience to keep our eyes on the box, and the magician prepares to reveal the results of his conjuring. Let's watch. What do you know? A 5-ton elephant. Where did he come from? He was definitely not on the witness list. Here are the secrets. First off, let's start with the group of spectators. The secret here is they're all in on the trick. The magician has no trouble positioning them in a circle since they've been rehearsed. This 360-degree walk is designed to convince us that the parking lot is empty and free of wandering elephants. Next, the large sheet is raised. Again, we can see the surrounding parking lot appears empty, but appearances are deceiving. We know he had to be hiding somewhere in this vast, seemingly empty lot. But where? We've been looking at his hiding place the entire time. Don't you remember seeing it? You did. Constructed near a group of trees by the edge of the lot is a painted Hollywood backdrop and some fake trees. This is the elephant's hiding place. Sound far-fetched? It's true. And chances are, it fooled you. Even though this looks like a setup that a cartoon roadrunner might use to trick a wily coyote, it's actually an effective hiding place for the elephant and his trainer. No one would ever expect a real pachyderm could be stashed away behind some phony trees in the middle of a parking lot, completely undetected. But the farther away the camera travels, the more deceptive the phony setup looks. See it now? When you know it's there, it's much easier to spot. The trick is that you didn't see it the first time because you didn't know where to look. This continuous camera angle from the illusion is low and only shows the front side of the sheet. The trick only works from this perspective because as the sheet is raised, the elephant begins to approach from the rear. From this high angle, you can see the elephant walking toward the sheet as the fabric box is being constructed. From this low angle, the sheet is blocking the approaching elephant. The paid witnesses step aside to allow the elephant and his trainers some room to sneak through the circle. From the low angle in front, there's no sign of the elephant. Two stagehands who are dressed like spectators tear open the back of the fabric box and the elephant walks inside. The sheet is held together with long Velcro strips. As soon as the elephant is inside, the Velcro is quickly resealed. When the front sheet is lowered, it looks as though the elephant has appeared from out of the blue. And that's the secret to making an elephant appear from nowhere.
That's a cool trick, though, but don't try it at home.
Yes. Sorry about that, Maggie, and the cheesy commentary, but anyway.
It all adds to the illusion, though, man.
Yeah. So it's more like noticing how you feel when you see a magic trick and you don't know how it is done, and then you see behind the scenes and then notice how you feel differently about it now. It's just like, wow, like you can't unsee that now. If you watch that trick again, it's just like it's not even probably going to impress you that much now because you know it's not true.
Yeah, it's definitely a great analogy for the waking up process and seeing the illusions that we've bought into, and that's really what we're going to be talking about throughout the workshop.
Yep. So tomorrow we're going to be deep diving into this, but this is what we call sort of the true wake up. So this is where you do start to see behind the curtain of what's really going on. So that whole idea of seeing behind the magic trick, if you like, you start to question all of what you've considered to be real up until this point. Things don't fool you anymore, or they start to stop fooling you. Sometimes there is some stories that we've had running for a very long time that are very ingrained, and some of those can be harder to undo or take a bit longer to do, or we fall back into the story and we come out of it again, as Nat was sort of mentioning earlier. But you do start to stop putting your power into the outside world. yeah, big time. You start to kind of know the truth of who you are. So, so sort of just demonstrating now through little drawings of what that actually looks like. So as you might have recalled from the first drawing, the inner box here was the reality, like if you like what we consider reality, but you don't know you're inside a box. So then we start to go on the awakening journey, and we step outside of the box, if you remember that drawing. But then what you might not be realizing, what we consider awakening in that 3D reality, is that you're actually still in the box. There is a very big illusion going on that you think you're awakening and you're outside the box, but surprise, surprise, there's another box.
It's never ending. No. Yeah, but it's going to look as if, you know, originally you're in a small box, I guess, and then you stepped outside of that box. And yes, there is another box around you, but it is an expanded box. So while you feel like you may have expanded in your awakening journey, that is actually true. You have expanded. But as Maddie said, you're still actually inside a box. And we're going to explain what that means and how you get outside the box, because outside the box is the fun part.
Yes. And this was a huge thing for Nat and I too, because we'd been on a consciousness journey for years.
Yeah.
And to kind of go, shit, I'm still in the box. I'm still in the 3D box. I was like, okay, all right, yep. So it was like it was a very big shake-up of what considered to be real, and the fact that you think you're expanding. And as Nat said, it is definitely true. You are still expanding, but there is, as you'll see tomorrow, there's just this shift of perspective that changes it completely, and you'll get exactly what we're talking about.
Don't worry, we're going to show you how to get outside the box.
So this is kind of a very sneak preview into it, I guess, is that we start to sort of poke holes into the box. So if you imagine like the infinite being is like a sun that's being blocked by clouds at the moment. So the clouds being like our stories that we've bought into, the identities that we have, our belief systems, what we think is true in life, the power that we put outside of us into, say, government systems and things like that. We start to poke holes in all of those, and we let the light start to come in. So it starts to collapse the box, the bigger box that we're talking about now. And eventually you poke so many holes in the box that the box disappears and the light is fully shining. So the light of the truth, and we're calling it the one up there. So infinite, you know, infinite being, one, consciousness, whatever word you want to kind of use for it, you're in the full light of that, and you know yourself as consciousness.
Yeah, so I guess the other analogy is that, just go back to that slide, that you're in the box, the box is dark, and obviously the one is representing the sun, like Men just said, but you're drilling holes in it. So the drill holes are all the parts of the illusion that you're breaking down. So like the magic trick, when you see how a magic trick is done, how the illusion is done, then you can't be fooled by it again. So think of that as a drill hole, another drill hole, another drill hole, and you start to see how reality is actually created. You start to not be fooled by it anymore. And this workshop is really going to help drill a lot of holes into your box right now. And I guess the other thing is that, as Mandy said, the box collapses, which is the next slide there, man, is that as the building coming down. So the box eventually, if there's enough drill holes in a box, it's not stable anymore. So it's actually going to collapse under its own weight. So that's exactly what happens with the building, is that we put the charges in the right spots and eventually the building comes down. So this is exactly what's going to happen here as well.
And how long that takes is like how long is a piece of string. It's very individual. It's very different for each person in their storyline. Nobody can really tell you that that process, but it is a journey, and definitely going to give you lots of things tomorrow that's going to show you how to start going on that journey too. And then it is a matter of you stepping through the door, as Morpheus was saying to Neo. It's like he can only show you the door. You've got to step through it. You've got to take the red pill. You've got to go down the journey yourself. So, All right. So stage 4, which we'll be going into tomorrow, as we said, is fully living as the infinite me. So this is when you've completely woken up out of all the boxes and you are the true awakening. So I've got a video here, another short video from The Matrix again, which is talking about Neo being the one, which is all about this stage 4, about realizing that. So I'll play that now.
A little taste for what's coming tomorrow.
Check him. He's gone. Goodbye, Mr. Anderson.
Neo, I'm not afraid anymore. The Oracle told me that I would fall in love and that the man that I loved would be the one. So you see, you can't be dead. You can't be. Because I love you. You hear me? I love you. Now get up.
No.
How?
He is the one.
So you know yourself as an infinite being. So in that clip, Neo is realizing himself as the one, as they're saying. So he realizes he's everything. He's consciousness. Everything is accessible to him. It's not real. He can play with it. He can bend reality. What's happening in front of him. So you know nothing in the outside world can hurt or affect you. And you know your only purpose here is to play with all of reality and other infinite beings.
Yep.
You as a human and consciousness are one and the same. You know yourself as both. You get to come here and play in the human game, but you know that you're an infinite being, so you start to play it very, very differently.
Very cool. All right, so that ends our overview of the four phases or stages. So we're going to dive into the first two right now. So let's do that.